Thank you, Dennis. Just first of all, the collection that Dennis mentioned is in its final stages of being processed and should be available pretty soon. I first met Pam Smith when she contacted me to see if the library would be interested in her research materials for the Judy Project website. The Judy Project documents the lives of enslaved persons at the Richard Adams and Adams Taylor houses, the two properties that now make up Richmond Hill, an ecumenical community and retreat center on Church Hill. When I met Pam at Richmond Hill back in November of 2022, I got more than a collection for the library. I got an immersive, fascinating tour of the property, highlighting the important historical and archaeological work being done to reveal the hidden lives of the enslaved persons who lived there. Pam is dedicated to telling their stories. I am honored that Pam asked me to participate in this film she is making with Loria King. It is my privilege and pleasure to introduce to you Pam Smith and Loria King. Pam Smith, producer, is a historian, genealogist, and independent researcher for historic sites. A native Chicagoan, her ancestral roots stretch from Virginia, Kentucky, and Missouri to Cameroon and Sierra Leone. Pam has a passion for unearthing buried African-American stories. Her recent projects include the dwelling of enslaved Africans at Richmond Hill, the Harriet Beecher Stowe House in Cincinnati, and the Illinois Underground Railroad. Earlier in her career, she taught elementary school in Africa and worked as senior press aide to Reverend Jesse Jackson in his 1988 presidential bid and to Barack Obama in his primary campaign for the U.S. Senate. Pam is a certified Kingian nonviolence trainer and co-editor of the Chicago Freedom Movement, Martin Luther King Jr., and civil rights activism in the North. Loria King, director, is an award-winning independent documentary filmmaker and photographer with a focus on nuanced stories involving race, gender, culture, and ethnicity. She earned her MFA in film from Columbia University and began her filmmaking journey as an intern with 40 Acres and a Mule Filmworks. Currently, she serves on the advisory board for the Global Institute for Black Girls in Film and Media and as a changemaker for Black stock footage. Her most recent project, Black America Is, that explores Black identity, was selected as part of the 2020 Film Independent CNN docuseries Intensive and won Best Documentary Feature at the Baltimore African American Film Festival in 2023. Loria's passion for her craft led her to share her real-world experience with students as a film professor. She has also taught filmmaking outside the classroom in Africa, Asia, and South America. Loria is currently directing Current, A Descendant's Journey for Truth, a documentary that delves into the critical theme of historical truth-telling. This project is a significant part of her mission to challenge and examine false narratives regarding women and Black, Indigenous, and people of color and their experiences. So I'd like to introduce both Pam and Loria to you.
Hello, everyone. It's wonderful to see you all here. I'm not going to take up much time, but I wanted to just give you a sense of what you'll be watching. So this is a work in progress, and we're interested in your feedback and the discussion after. So we're still doing some sound mixing. We're still doing some editing. We're still putting in some music. So those are elements that we're going to continue to work on. Right now, it's 90 minutes. When we finish, it will probably be shorter than that, but that's what it is right now, and we'll be interested in what your thoughts are. And with that, Current. to talk with you about whatever you'd like to talk about. So I'll just start. This is Herbert Townes, who was interviewed in the film. And this is Maddy Wade, who was in the film, and Maddy was a production assistant on the crew. And Loria, our director, is coming. And Trenton was in the film. I don't know if he's gonna come up. Okay. But I'm interested, we're interested. What jumped out at you? What struck you? What are you left with? Because we're, as I mentioned earlier, we're in the process of finishing the film and making refinements. And we're interested to know what you think. What are your takeaways? Anyone? Yes. And if we have microphones for people, yeah. Thank you.
I just want to say thank you for doing it. I learned a lot, and I always try to look at the other person's perspective. I don't know that we all do, but it was really a wonderful film. Thank you.
Mine is just a critique of, you know how you have the stuff to read? Could you just leave it on there a little bit longer? Because everybody can't read that fast. So we're kind of missing a little bit right there, okay? But beautiful, that's a beautiful piece. Oh, okay, okay.
Thank you, thank you. And so what, can I just, go ahead. Oh, I just wanted to ask you, thank you for that, and we will do it. What are you taking from this? And is there anything that you would highlight or something that you think may not be necessary, but maybe we don't need?
I took from it, stuff that you're right, you're hitting it right on the head, where the banding of the books and how you're really leaving out, because it is American history, it's not just Black history. Yes, a lot of stuff was done from the blood, sweat, and tears from Black folks. And I never could understand, why do you want to keep that out? What is the secret? Why are you keeping it a secret when it's evident that it happened? So yes, you're taking down the statues and all that, but like that guy said, that's part of history too. Changing the names and stuff, I get it, but you're on that side of it, you're also taking away from what happened too. So yeah, I don't, maybe you don't agree with me on that, but that's part of the history too. No, I'm saying in general. So, and I think all aspects of what happened in the past needs to stay. So you, like you said, you want to get the whole truth, nothing but the truth, and stop leaving stuff out. Very good. I mean, I think it's very good how you did it. I don't know what you're going to take out, because you said you got to edit. So I think it's an excellent piece. When do you? I mean, is it coming on TV, PBS? What? How are you getting it out to the masses?
Well, we're in the process of deciding that.
Oh, okay.
There's obviously YouTube, we could put it on.
Okay.
Everybody could access it on YouTube. Of course, the primary reason that we initiated it was, or I'll speak for myself, is an educational tool for teachers to be used in classrooms, and we'll have study questions that accompany it, and so that the people, and not just teachers in classrooms, but community dialogues can talk about these. But obviously, it'd be wonderful to have it on Netflix, or,
Good luck. I so hope it happens.
Thank you. Lori, would you add it? Okay. Okay.
Well, I'll speak to the credit, not the credits, but the text being on the screen. I was sitting with the editor, and it's what happens is once you're editing for weeks and weeks, you know what the text says, so you really have to be conscious of the fact that people are going to be reading it and not know. And we actually made them longer, so what you see is actually a longer version, with us having that understanding that it needs to be longer. So I'm glad that we're getting the feedback that we need to, like, make it even longer. So we'll definitely do that. Yes. Any other questions?
Question right here.
Oh,
Or comments.
Hi, everyone. I really appreciate this film and what you've done, and I'm curious to know how other families who are discovering their descendants, as mine are of the University of Richmond desecration. I don't know if you all are familiar with it, and how I can possibly, it's really inspiring me to go deeper and do more as I find out more about my family's part of that and in the Three Chopped area. So what is your suggestions on maybe having it included or what I can do?
Okay, thank you. And that's a great project. I know about that project. I went to one of the meetings, and Dr. Loria King, who is interviewed in the film, is working on that project. So I think that she could be one source for you, because she and her students initiated a big part of that project. And then just the Afro-American Historical and Genealogical Society. Anybody, everybody, there's Shelley's here. People in that organization can help you look at the area that you're from. So I think other genealogists and family historians comparing notes and learning from each other is a great thing. Yes. What else jumped out? Yes.
Yes, my name's John Dorman. I'm a sort of railroad buff in the sense of speaking, and you know the RF&P Railroad here in Richmond, you know, it started in 1835. So, and they hired a lot of slaves, you know, at $100 a year. They would report to them in January, and they'd return them back in December. Just for $100, they would work on the railroad. And another thing is about basically all the courthouses that were burned in Richmond and other places, Amelia, Charlottesville, they were burned for a reason. To try to burn the records up that you were trying to research and all that. They weren't just burned because of basically the fires in the stoves. They were burned intentionally. And you know, and most of the white owners, whatever they say they own, 50 acres or 25 acres, that's what they wrote in the books. If a black person said they had 5 acres, yeah, they may have gave them 1 acre and all of that. But going through the railroad records, which the Library of Virginia have a lot of them, you'll find a lot of good information in there.
It's a great source. Thank you so much for, I've never looked at the railroad records, but I can imagine that that's a rich source. Yes, does Reverend Townes have anything you'd like to say, or Maddy? What did you think of Reverend Townes' comment? Can someone say something that you appreciated about it?
she has a question. There are questions.
Because of the parking is so bad down here, so it was anyway, when are you gonna show this again?
So it's screening tomorrow in Arlington, Sunday in Charlottesville, and at currentfilm.org. If you scroll to the very end, it has the particulars. Yeah. Currentfilm.org. And then if you scroll all the way to the bottom, there's a flyer and it has the details of the screening.
Yeah, I just want to know if you've ever had the thought that maybe, because someone mentioned this to me once, it was a girl from Nigeria, and she says that black people in America are brainwashed. And then I heard the other young lady, she says something about truthfulness, and I heard her on the screen talking about truthfulness. But I do a lot of research. I go to the library every day. You know, since a little girl, you know, I'm from New York. I live in Virginia, but I'm from New York, Long Island originally. I've always gone to the library, walking home from school every single day. But I thought about this the other day. What if things are, I don't know if anybody else has ever thought about it. Some things are this, you know, as I look things over, I look my life over, I think that some things are hidden in plain sight. And for some reason, black people can't see it. But I can for some, I don't know why, but I can see a lot of things that I notice that other black people can't see. But some things are hidden in plain sight. It's right here, it's right before us. And we can't, even like the word nigger. I think some things are hidden in plain sight, and we can't for some reason unravel it, even though it's right there. It's right there, it's right in front of our eyes. But we have never, it's been a long time. I'm going to be 67 next month. But there's so many things, it's right here, right in front of our eyes, and we can't, for some strange reason, we can't see it. It's strange to me.
Oh, he wants to.
I would like to, things being hidden in plain sight is actually the project I'm working on with Bermuda 100. Some of you may be familiar with Chesterfield County and Bermuda 100, Chesterfield County. The untold story, which I do presentations on, is that enslaved Africans arrived in Virginia and unloaded and disembarked at Bermuda 100 in Chesterfield County. The slave ad that Pam showed during the presentation is one of many that reflect that ships landed at Bermuda 100, and enslaved people were sold at Bermuda 100. I tried in search and find an ad from the Richmond Enquirer, which was a newspaper of the time, for a ship being landed in Richmond, enslaved disembarking in Richmond and being sold. Most of the enslaved who were sold in Richmond were from the slaves that reproduced in Richmond, and I mean in Virginia. The slave ships could not navigate the James River all the way up to Richmond. So if you are familiar with Chesterfield County and you are familiar with Bermuda 100, Bermuda 100 was first. Hold the applause. So that's where the ships landed, and that's the project that I'm working on, and I'll probably be continuing working on until we get the recognition that our ancestors deserve at that site in Bermuda 100.
I just wanted to, Shelley, please come up with us. Please. Oh, I'm so glad. I'm sorry, I forgot that you were in, yes, please.
If there's a question, I can answer.
Okay, okay. If Shelley's here, what did you think of Shelley? Wasn't Shelley great?
But it is amazing, and thank you for that. I do want to say one thing.
Can someone share a mic so we can hear what she's saying?
If you can't hear me, Harley Davidson has a quote, and I'm saying this to everyone here. But Harley Davidson has a quote, and he said, when you're telling your life story, don't let someone else hold that pen.
I love that. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, I didn't have a question. I was really going to make a comment, and I mean, well done on this film. There's a lot to unpack. But one of the things that it triggered for me was this idea of displacement. And I don't know if you intentionally kind of connected some dots, but for the first time, I think I began to see in this sort of timeline this displacement of Black people and Black families, you know, starting with our removal from the continent, and then how we're sold as a commodity throughout the country. And then, you know, you keep looking at it at urban renewal and what happened and decimated, you know, neighborhoods and families. And so we talk about generational trauma, but for the first time, just seeing that displacement and thinking of that, or seeing that also as having maybe some violence associated with it, right? It certainly is incredibly, you know, it separates you from who you are and from your history. And so, like I said, I don't know if that was intentional, but that's the first time where I felt this strong narrative around displacement and the impact of displacement over, you know, generation to generation. So thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. I really enjoyed it. I want to know, did the children in the class, the white kids, did they ever answer that question? And
what did you think about? Wasn't that a brilliant shot?
Yeah.
Because that was a strategic decision that Loria made
Okay.
to show them
looking like what? Well, and another thing, I just want to ask you, for your self-care, going through all of, what did you do for your own self-care? Oh, is that?
No, I'm just chuckling because there were times I thought, okay, do I have to be crying in this movie 42 times? But what do I do for self-care? I get a lot of, when I said about communing with my ancestors, I really mean that. I know it's woo-woo. No, it's not. Okay, thank you. There's some of us that accept the woo-woo. Like, but so I feel like it's not all pain for me. It is painful to relive it. And I think every researcher is different. You know, some people, it may not be as emotional, you know, for them, but I think I find the joys in thinking about them and thinking about the ancestors that I knew, my relative, my grandmother, the people that I knew, and how they influenced me. Yeah, I don't know. Genealogy is therapeutic for me.
I would think,
Yeah.
I would think, and I mean, you're unraveling and
Yeah.
bringing them back.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like
It's a
they're
real
rising again, or, you know.
Oh, that's interesting. How many people are family historians or researchers, or a lot of you? Yeah, so you know that feeling. Other comments? Yeah.
I'm Jawanda Sampson, and interestingly enough, I am the product of family members out in Short Pump, Three Chop District, and when we talk about displacement, the black family owners who owned property out there immediately got displaced when 295 came through. But I am also grateful for the education that I had starting at Vanderbilt Elementary School as well as Virginia Randolph Elementary School. And when I got to the 5th grade, the most powerful thing that I recognized is that gentleman. Hello? Is that gentleman showing that the door that said we were not slaves. And as I was back there, one of the comments I said, no, these individuals were architects, and that's why they were brought here. Well, interestingly enough, when I went to Short Pump Elementary in the 5th grade, I wanted my report to be done on Fannie Lou Hamer. And my 5th grade teacher said, you're not gonna do a documentary or historical lookup regarding her because she is not on my list. And I did it, and I am grateful to my mother and my father who went to that school when segregation forced me to go to that school. I mean, integration forced me to go to that school, and I got an F on that project, and then it made me go deeper into Black history because all we were taught was Harriet Tubman, and that was just one sentence. And when I would bring forth every year until I graduated, I saw F's on my report, but thank God for my mother who was a fighter and said, she did this research and you regraded and I got an A. I said that, so I'm not stopping there until I finish some of my history and genealogy. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to say, I think that I love documentaries, but for some reason, this documentary was a lot more personable. It felt a lot more different than the other ones I've looked at. It felt more like it was a story that was told and not so much as a history lesson.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that feedback. That's been one of the things that we've tried to balance, like the story, the family history story of looking for ancestors, because it's not just me looking for Matilda, it's all of us looking for our people. And, you know, I happen to be representing that story right there, but it's really all of us. But I think, yeah, making it personal really helps. What would you say?
Thank you for noticing that. We really did. We were a great collaboration and balance in the sense that I come from a perspective of narrative storytelling, so I always want to make sure it's grounded into, the story is grounded in a person. Like we are connected to their story and how they're traveling through this journey. And Pam was amazing in bringing in all the elements of truth-telling. I remember telling my goddaughter, she was like, I really like history. I was like, oh my gosh, I just met this historian. And in working with Pam on this documentary, I met so many historians and archaeologists and anthropologists, and it really gave me a different perspective of how many different applications that particular degree can have, like how you can, for instance, Pam goes to historical sites and works in bringing forth Black or African American stories there. So there's so many applications, but that was something in my mind, it was like, how do I ground this into a narrative story? How do I travel through this and try to tell kind of two stories? Or really three, but I think two. And Matilda's story doesn't get fully told because the next portion or the next part, she goes west. And so she was 9. Yeah. She was 9 and she left Virginia at the age of 9. So the next portion will be more about Matilda, and you get to understand what happened to her and her life. So it was, how do I balance giving you enough about Matilda where you know, so that's one of the things we've gotten a lot of feedback on, that we could have included more of her. So in my mind, I'm trying to think, well, how do I let people know that we will include more of her? But she was 9 years old, and there's not a lot. So we try to shape the beginning of her life and those people and those places where her ancestors were, and where she would have lived as Mount Eagle Farm, right? But Warner Hall was just her ancestors were there. So that is, it's a balance, and we still have some work to do, you know. But I'm excited. I'm excited.
Loria is a great storyteller. Like yesterday, she was saying, we had some battles. Like, we really respect each other, but we had some. And I was thinking about, I heard Ava DuVernay, is it DuVernay or DuVernay? DuVernay. Interviewed about origins, and she was saying there were times when Isabel Wilkerson was saying, no, but it happened, you have to include this, and this is, you know, how. And Ava was saying, no, that's not, we have to tell a story here, so we have to do it differently than you. And so that's what Loria has brought to this. Like, there were times I was like, this is really important. And she said, yeah, but it's not helping us move the story, you know, forward. So it was a really interesting collaboration.
Yes.
And Loria's film, Black America Is, won Best Documentary Feature at the Baltimore African American Film Festival. And one of the first things when people came up after, the first person who spoke said, I really want to applaud you on the narrative arc. You know, that how that story was told. So that's the skill that she brings to this.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, thank you. Anything else? Any other feedback?
Yeah, yes, I have just want to comment. You brought out a story about the stool, that a stool that was made, and all the students had to get up, stand on it, and say what they learned. But the important part of that, you just glossed on it, I thought, was the fact that they were teaching the elders. The elders were learning from what they were told. I thought that was important.
Okay, good. Thank you. So you're
Thank
saying
you.
that could come across even stronger. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that.
We have time for one more question.
Okay.
Well, this is a good comment. It'll be quick.
Yeah, comment is good. Yeah.
Okay. I liked, thank you, ma'am. I liked what Dr. Lee said. I thought that was great. And I knew her father, he was actually a deacon at our church. And the other thing I wanted to say, well, what I liked about her was she talked about the child aspect of slavery. Because when I read books about slavery and the children being passed on, they're always viewed, as she said, as someone who is there with the white child, not as someone who has a role of their own to play. So I liked that, and then I really liked that. And then I was very impressed with the economic burden for slavery. It would amaze me that it would be more than the GNP of all those things that you guys talked about. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all for coming. I really appreciate it so much. Again, the website is and there's an email address there if you'd like to contact us. Have a good rest of the day.